So let's open up in prayer. Dear Father, thank you for this chance to study music again, and even in the midst of everything that's going on in our own personal lives and daily activities, Lord, I pray that you would use this tool in a way that would bring glory to yourself, and that you would just teach us, Lord, and allow us to be skillful in the gifts that you've given to us, and hopefully be able to represent you well, and especially in eternity, Lord, that we would spend forever praising you. And thank you for the rewards that we get to give back to you. And I pray that everything in our life now would just be focused on giving everything to you, and even our rewards when we get to heaven, that we wouldn't be motivated in this life by gaining rewards that we can keep for ourselves, but by getting rewards that we can give back to you. Just remove our own selfishness and pride and anything like that, and just help us to be tools that you can use, Lord. And even with all of our flaws and shortcomings, just help us to strive to glorify you and to be used of you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right, did anyone have questions over the questions, the exercises, anything super complicated?
I don't think so. I do. Yeah.
Okay.
And it was something.
If something comes up, just feel free to, shout out that you have a question or something doesn't make sense as we go. I'm going to turn this down just a little bit.
When I did the exercises, I looked back quite a bit. So it's not like I remember anything.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's helpful. As long as you know where to go to find answers and stuff. That's good. That's getting practice using notes and looking up the stuff. So that's good. So just a quick word about the hymnal. We're using the Baptist edition of the Trinity hymnal. This is actually a really cool hymnal. I kind of came across it. I think we came across it through Brother Cloud or something, but then we also just kind of came across it on our own, and we were looking at it. And actually, in case you guys don't know the story behind it, it came from the Trinity hymnal was originally a Presbyterian hymnal. And so they had a couple hymns about infant baptism and stuff like that. But then the pastor of the church, it's called Grace Emmanuel Reformed Baptist Church, GIRBC. And that pastor actually grabbed the hymnal and he changed up a few things, took some of the infant baptism songs out of it, and then switched up a couple of the tunes and a couple of the texts for some of the hymns. And then they actually put a large part of the back portion is actually a musical psalter. There's a big section of it that's actually got a lot of the psalms. There's actually songs that represent all 150 of the psalms in here. So that makes it a really interesting hymnal. They also switched out the Westminster Confession of Faith for the London Baptist Confession of Faith in the back and whatever. So it is, by a Reformed church and everything, which we're not Reformed, but it's a great hymnal. It has a lot of old hymns and really nice. Mine is this binder because it's the spiral version for
we got one of those too.
Yeah, it's really cool. It has some.
Reformed church.
Oh, okay, yeah, because the people that put it out are Reformed Baptists. So, but it's really cool. Definitely Baptist, and has some of the really old hymns and stuff. So that it's a really cool hymnal. And the church, they're the only ones producing it and distributing it and everything. So it's all done by a church. They just have it. I think it's through Great Commission Publications or whatever, and they just have it where they print out extra editions when they run low and stuff. So it's kind of interesting. So it's cool old hymnal. So getting back to music, I wanted to start out by doing a little bit of review for time signatures and everything, because it is kind of a lot to wrap your mind around. So let's just briefly go over a couple things. I'm going to put up quadruple, triple, and duple, okay? So these four, we have simple up here and then compound over here. So if you have quadruple time and you want to put that in a simple time signature, meaning that it only subdivides down into groups of two, so it just naturally divides the notes in half, then what you're going to have is you're going to have 4 counts and probably a quarter note will get the main beat. So that's an example of simple time for quadruple would be 4/4. Now if you want to take quadruple and put it into compound time, then you just have to multiply 4 by 3 because it's going to be divided. The subdivisions are going to be grouped out into groups of 3. And so you're going to end up with 12. And the most common one is 8. You'll have an 8th note because that subdivision is going to be smaller. So 3 of those subdivision notes makes up the big beat. So 12/8 is a common example of that. So that's kind of an overview of quadruple time. Now if we're going to go into triple, so that means now we want 3 main pulses, 3 big beats. So you can do the same thing and start out with 3, and probably you're going to have a quarter note again. So 3/4 is a really common one. Now if you're going to put a triple time or triple meter into compound time, then you're going to multiply 3 times 3, and so you're going to have 9, and it's probably going to have an 8th note again. So a smaller note value, since it's the lower note here is the small beat instead of the big beat. So that's an example. There's other ones, obviously. Duple time is either going to be 2/2, or 2/4. It's just going to have 2 counts, and it's going to have some kind of, normal note down here for the big beat. And then also for the compound time, it's going to be 6/8, most commonly. So it still gets 2 pulses, but it's the 8th notes get that subdivision, and then there's going to be 6 of them. So that's 2 groups of 3. That's why we multiply it by 3. So that's kind of an overview of that. Now, any questions on that? Anything that's a little unclear on that, or is it kind of sinking in a little bit?
It is, yeah. I'll have to see it more.
Yeah, the more you see it, and that's the other thing is really what's easier is it becomes easier when you learn conducting and time signatures, like the theory of time signatures, and then you can use one to figure out the other. So when you look at a hymn, if you understand how you would conduct the hymn, but you don't understand the time signature, well, understanding how to conduct it will kind of explain the time signature. Or if you open up a hymn and you get the time signature, but you're unsure how to conduct it, then the time signature will help you figure that out. So it's like right now we're just trying to figure out the one thing, but we're kind of blind on conducting because we're going to be getting into that in a few minutes. So it's hard to understand this by itself. But once we put conducting with it, the two kind of explain each other a lot. And so it'll get a little easier. So that's kind of just an overview. But there's another thing that we need to understand, which is actually asymmetrical time signatures. I wanted to go over this because I haven't understood this until a little bit more recently. Asymmetrical time signatures. So, I'll put this in parentheses here. So, for example, asymmetrical means it's not, you can't divide it into 2 equal parts that are like mirrors of each other. They're not evenly divisible. So they're asymmetrical. So you can have duple and triple. So duple and triple, okay? And I'll explain kind of what these are all about here after we go over some of these examples. So duple and triple. And simple, I'm going to kind of rewrite this. So asymmetrical is going to be combinations of these up here, okay? So here I'll draw the line to show these are asymmetrical down here, okay? So you can have duple and triple, okay? So that's these two. And what that's going to look like in simple is going to be 5/4, okay? Because if you have duple and triple, you got 2 and 3. So you're going to put like 2 and 3, combine those, and you're going to get 5/4, okay? In compound meter, an asymmetrical time signature, the two most common examples are 15/8 or 15/4, okay? Because you're adding 6 and 9, so you end up with 15. Okay, so this is a combination of duple and triple in an asymmetrical time signature. Basically, what it means is if your song isn't simple, it's going to have 5 counts, which is really awkward. It's not natural. 5 counts in a song because you can't divide that evenly. There's not really a conducting pattern for that. You have to kind of make one up. Or there's going to be 15 counts, which that's really, unusual, unnatural. So 15 counts. What this would actually be, it would be written as, so this would be written as 6/8 plus 9/8. So that's kind of what that would be written as. You would, if you see a song that has like one measure of 6/8 time and then a measure of 9/8 and then 6/8 9/8, it's written in the duple and triple asymmetrical time signature. Really weird stuff. Okay, or basically anything that adds up to 15 is what it could be written as. So like normally you'll see 6/8 and 9/8, or you might see, okay, so like for 15/4, you might see 3/4 and 3/4 and 3/4 and 3/4 and so 3, 6, 9, 12. Or wait, what would it be? Normally it's. Oh, sorry. 4, 4, 4, and 3. So like 4, 4, 4, and 3, because that's 12 plus 3 is 15. Okay, so you might see a song that has this reoccurring pattern, and it's just an asymmetrical time signature because it's never going to come out evenly. It's always going to be kind of broken up. Or you can see 6 groups of that would actually be this other one here.
Would you see the time signature before every measure, or where is it? Where are the time signatures?
Yeah, it would be the measures. So like this would be a measure. Okay. So, but you would only see it before the first measure, because you're gonna have 3 measures of it. But since it's still the same time signature, it wouldn't repeat it. You just see that one time, 2 measures that are still in that, and then 1 measure in 3/4, and then it would start back over with 4/4 for 2 more measures, and it would just repeat that over and over because they're trying to fit 15 counts in there over and over. Another example, and don't worry about these too much, I'm just telling you what these are right now. You don't need to learn these necessarily, but this is just kind of what they are. Triple and quadruple. So now if we combine these two, because that's going to be asymmetrical, so you're going to end up with 7/4. They're all odd numbers, and they're either not divisible by 3 or they're divisible by 3 and more than 12, because 15 is more than 12. See, when we have 12 up here, that's just quadruple. That's a normal natural time signature. When you have 15 down here, that's when it becomes unnatural, because it's more than 12, and anything above that, anything bigger than that, like you'll see 21 sometimes or something weird like that, it's all asymmetrical. You can't really divide it evenly. So this would be either 7/4, or this will be like 21/8 or 21/4. So really weird time signatures. But the thing about a lot of choral music nowadays, like modern choral music, is written with these asymmetrical time signatures, and it's all really evil. Like, it's very unnatural, and it gives this basically they give this like ethereal feeling, and they can be strangely beautiful, but it's not the right kind of beauty. It's because it's unnatural, and it's giving you this like emotional high because it's so unstable. And it's actually, these are used a lot in music that portrays like demonic activity and things like that. So I just wanted to go over these, because if you ever see a song that has an unnatural time signature like this, do not conduct it. Okay? Because like when I was in college, I would actually practice these, because you have to learn specific specialized conducting patterns, because these don't fit the normal ones. And so I, like, unknowingly, I practiced conducting these, because these are like some of the really high quality, difficult conducting pieces are written in this. But don't try to conduct this because it's not good. The music itself is unstable, and so really we should avoid it. And the sad thing is, there's some new sacred music that's written using these. So like an example is How Deep the Father's Love by Getty and Townend, Stuart Townend, and then Keith and Kristen Getty. It's in 5/4. So it's in one of these asymmetrical time signatures, and that it's not natural, and it's not structured music. So basically we don't have to worry about them because you'd really have to learn how to conduct this music, and we shouldn't, basically. And that's just really sad because it's used nowadays to reflect to write songs that are supposed to reflect God, but they're using the music, and like, I'm not the one that decided that these are, evil sounding, or that they are, demonic, or that it's the best description for demonic sounds or whatever. That's what the world decides, because that's what they use. If they're going to write, a music score for some demonic movie or something like that, they use these time signatures. So it's like the world has chosen this is the most fitting kind of sound for that. So, as Christians, when we observe that, we should stay away from it, so definitely don't conduct any of these. And it's unfortunate because a lot of music, so Dan Forrest actually wrote a really impressive piece that uses 15/8 is what his uses. It's called Jubilate Deo, and it's actually written, it's a, I think, 6 or 7 movement piece that's actually written in 7 different languages. So throughout the piece, there's 7 different languages, and really impressive, like full orchestration. He uses an incredible amount of instruments. Like, just looking at the music, it's almost like one page is just one line of music because how many instruments are in it. So he's a very gifted musician, but he wrote using, kind of this worldly asymmetrical time signature. And so it's influencing a lot of Christian music, and a lot of Christians are accepting it, and whatever. So just something to be aware of. So now, how do you determine if a time signature is simple or complex? This will be the last thing we review, and then we're going to jump into conducting. So last thing, kind of follow up from last week. How do you determine if, just by looking at a time signature, if it's going to be simple or compound? There's a couple helps. It's not like there's no like definite way I can give you, but there's a couple things that can help determine. First off, so let's just say we'll put a column for simple, and then compound, and then asymmetrical. Okay, so the first thing is looking at the top note. Okay, so for simple, the top note is usually going to be 1 to 4. The top number in the time signature is, and this isn't in the notes. I didn't take the time to fit it into the notes, but this might be helpful, just a different way to think about it. In simple, the top number of the time signature is usually going to be 1 through 4. Those are the most common. In compound, the number is usually going to be greater than 4 and divisible by 3 and less than 15. So it's all 3 of these. It can't just be one or the other. It has to be all 3 of these things. So the top number of the time signature, if you see a time signature, okay, so this, you might see like 3, 4, okay? So it's between 1 and 4. It's probably going to be simple, and that is simple, okay? Now this one, you would see something like 12, 8. So it's normally going to be greater than 4 and divisible by 3. So 12 is divisible by 3 because that makes sense. It's compound. And less than 15. So there's a good chance that if you're just looking at this, that's going to be a compound time signature, and it is. For asymmetrical, let's see, what did I have? Greater than 4 again, and odd, an odd number, and not divisible by 3. So we'll say not divisible by 3 unless it's less than 20, or unless it's greater or equal to 15. If that makes sense. Okay. So it's going to be greater than 4, an odd number, not divisible by 3 unless that's dealing with the divisible part by 3. It's not going to be divisible by 3 unless it's 15 or greater. Then it will be asymmetrical. Basically, if you see some astronomical number, unless it's 16, because 16 is even, that's a fine time signature. 16 is fine because it's not odd. But if you see something, an odd number, like 21, 21 is divisible by 3, but it's greater than 15. So 21 is out. We don't use that one. 15 is out. We don't use that. 7, if you see 7, 4, well, it's an odd number. It's not divisible by 3. It's under 15, greater than 4. Yeah, we don't want to use that one. So that is asymmetrical. So we don't want to use that. This all deals with the top number. Okay, we'll do one more column. When I look at a time signature, the first thing I do is look at the top number. That's going to give you the most help to decide if it's going to be simple, compound, or asymmetrical. You can also look at the bottom number. The bottom number for simple, usually 2 through 4. Usually. Bottom number, so I'll put usually. Bottom number for compound usually is 8. That's the most common one. So if you see 8, it's usually going to be this. You have to check the top number to make sure that works too. Because you can have something over here. You can have like, it's not always 1 through 4, because you can have, well, actually this could be 6, 4. So then it's not an 8. You can have exceptions to these. So these are not fail-proof, but this is kind of a good idea. And then the bottom number for this is going to be a mixture, because they use a bunch of combinations of different things, basically. So that's just a quick way to try to decipher what kind of time signature you're dealing with. So I'll leave that up there if anyone wants to copy that down. And we are going to move into conducting. It's about time. So, conducting. Let's start out with a few principles of conducting. First off, there's some definitions of some terms. We have the conducting ictus. This is the imaginary baseline of the conducting pattern, and it's going to be around the sternum. Okay? So the ictus. If you take your hand and you just put it right there at your sternum, and you picture like an imaginary line coming straight out from that. Okay? That's going to be your baseline for your conducting pattern. It's going to be about sternum height. It's kind of where your elbow naturally bends anyways. You know, it's not quite as low. It's a little higher. But if you kind of arch your shoulder up, picture that line right there. That's your conducting ictus. You have your conducting window, which sits on that ictus. And it goes up, you know, a little bit maybe broader than your shoulders. And then it stops right up at your head. So the top of your head is going to be the top of your conducting window. Then it goes out, goes down, and then your ictus is the bottom of that conducting window. They have here in the picture that your conducting window goes a little bit lower than your ictus, but I normally think of it as it rests right there on the ictus, on that baseline for your conducting pattern. Your pattern will sometimes bounce below that, but just picture that as kind of your home base there. Then the conducting pattern is kind of self-explanatory. That's the direction that you give as a conductor to musicians using hand gestures. So that's just some terms. So we know when we're talking about these things what we're actually saying. By the way, the size of that conducting window is going to change, normally based on your dynamics. So if you're really getting into the song and you want people to really sing out, sometimes you'll be conducting bigger then that window is. Or if it's more of a soft song and you're trying to motion for people to be quiet, or kind of to sing softly, then your pattern gets smaller. Okay, so in this case, your window is like really small. So keep that in mind. Your size is going to change. This is just kind of in general. Size is going to change depending on the dynamics. That's what determines the size of your workspace. Posture for conducting. So let's have everyone just stand up. Wherever you're at, just stand up. And you want to put one foot in front of the other, okay? So this is just conducting 101 here. Anytime you do anything physical, when you sing, by the way, anytime you do anything physical, you always want to have one foot in front of the other. So if you're, battling in your mind what foot should go in front of the other, just picture how would you do something athletic? How would you, throw a baseball, or how would you shoot a basketball? You're going to put one foot in front of the other. So get in like an athletic position, as if you're about to throw a basketball or whatever sport it is. You're about to swing a bat. Whichever foot is going to go in front, go ahead and put that foot slightly in front. Now, when you're conducting, you're not going to be standing like you're about to throw, a baseball, or you're about to swing a bat or something. But you want to be in an active position, okay? And that's really where your body is going to be the most stable, where it's going to be the most comfortable and ready to move. You want to be able to be mobile while you're conducting. Sometimes even walking around, moving towards a certain section of the choir or whatever. So always have one foot in front of the other. You want your feet to be spread about a shoulder's width apart, so your body can be centered, planted, and allowing your upper body to move slightly. Make sure you're completely relaxed, okay? So no tension. So stand there with no tension, relaxed, but ready, like almost in an athletic mode, okay, where you're staying with one foot slightly in front of the other. That makes a big difference. And try that when you sing too, because when you're singing, just put one foot in front of the other. It just gives your whole body it gives you more energy to sing, and it just puts you in the right posture. Really, posture is hugely important. All right, you can have a seat. Now, hand position. So keep in mind your posture though, because anytime you start conducting, it always starts with your posture. You're not going to conduct better than your posture normally. So you want to stand how you want to conduct. So keep in mind posture. Your hand position. Your hand should be positioned in a relaxed, open palm while conducting. Keep the fingers loose and relaxed. Don't have them rigidly touching or tightly spread apart, okay? Some people, when they teach conducting, they teach like, all right, your hand has to be in this position, okay? Don't ever like lock it down right here, okay? And you want to always move like this. That's not proper conducting. Or you don't want to be like this, like where you're conducting, and your hand is just, rigid. Some people like spread their hand out, they're like conducting like it looks like they're grabbing the air or something. The key is just make your hand relaxed, okay? So when you naturally hold your hand out, whatever it naturally is like in a palm up position, that's what you want to just take that, and then you can bring it up like you see with my hand. There's like a little bit of space in between the fingers, and you want to keep your hand just relaxed, just like that. Okay, so you want it to be natural when you're conducting. Sometimes your fingers are going to be more spread out. Sometimes they might be a little closer together. You might have a couple fingers kind of sticking together and your pinky kind of out there. Whatever it is, just make sure it's relaxed. That's the big key. The conducting hand should be naturally open and always, always, always relaxed. Never should be any stress. And if something starts hurting when you're conducting, so like your hand, your wrist, your shoulder, some people get really tired of conducting and your shoulder really starts wearing on you, you're probably stressing something. You're probably not doing it properly. So just keep in mind, you want to stay relaxed. So that's really the hand position. Just whatever your hand naturally is, that's what you want to conduct as. Now the purposes for conducting, before we get into actual conducting. First off, the time. This is really why conducting is practical. This is why people use it. Because the first purpose of conducting is to provide a visible means of maintaining consistent time, so that the singers or the musicians, whichever the case may be, can stay together. In the case of congregational singing, really the biggest thing that we're interested in here, if there's a group of people singing hymns, the first concern of the music director is to keep the congregation singing on time together. Okay, so before any other concern, before you're worried about, pitch or how people sound or whatever, you want them to be together. If everyone's singing like a half beat off from each other, that's terrible. So this is a visible representation of the time. That's the first purpose of it, the first function that it serves. The second function is tempo, okay, which is a little bit different than time. Time is just staying together. Tempo is the speed. Really, the conductor is responsible for setting the speed of the song, because if you start the song out and it's really dragging or going slow, then that's probably the speed that you're going to stick with the whole song, and everyone, the whole church or the whole group starts singing at that speed, and then it's really hard to kind of change speeds. So this is another important aspect, is setting the right tempo. So the quickness of the entire song, which requires an understanding of both the time signature and the pace of the song for conducting. So that all kind of comes together there in tempo. And the last part is the tone. This gets a little bit more detailed, a little bit more in depth. This is the more technical side of conducting, which is reflecting the tone and the mood of the song. This involves the dynamics, the fermatas. So, like the hymns where something is supposed to be held out, that's the fermata, or expressiveness, instrumentation. So you might want a certain verse for instruments to drop out, to sing it a cappella, or maybe the instruments really should come behind and support. Maybe all the instruments should play unison on one verse, to really strengthen it. Things like that. All those aspects of musicality. That's the responsibility really of the conductor. So however musical the piece is, that's the tone of it. So the reason we conduct is because the time, the tempo, and the tone, we want to reflect all three of those things properly, and so everyone's on the same page in order to let the music really do what we're trying to do here, which is to glorify God, to be an accurate reflection of God's character, and to be pleasing to Him. So that's really the whole reason why we conduct there. All right, so the patterns for conducting. There are three main patterns that are used in symmetrical, which is the only conducting we do, and symmetrical, which is even numbered, time signatures. So the conducting pattern usually follows the big beat, but not always. Don't you love those exceptions? So here are the main exceptions. Okay, so we'll reference back to this we were talking about earlier. The 2-count pattern is used for any song with 2 pulses, which includes 2/4 and 6/8. Okay, so 2/4, 6/8, anything in the duple time, that's going to be conducted with a 2-count pattern, or the 4 pulses that are too fast to be conducted with the 4-count pattern, such as a fast 4/4. Okay, so basically anything that's 2/4 or 6/8 up here, or if you have a 4/4 that's basically too fast, so you don't want to be singing like 1 2 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. If it's too fast, you'll just drop it back up here to the duple, and you'll just count 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. That's a lot more clear. It's a lot more manageable. So that's basically the 2-count pattern. And that's really the main exception that you have to worry about with the 2-count pattern. Okay, so what that is going to look like is, with my right hand here, so you start up here at the top of your conducting window. Okay, and the downbeat, it's going to come down, but most of the other patterns, they're all going to come straight down for the 1. But this one, it goes out. So you want to come down and then go 1 2 1 2, which really you're going to feel the 6 subdivisions, but you're only going to conduct the 2 pulses. So it'll be like 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6, almost like a check but backwards. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6. So that's how you're going to conduct it. So if I were to use my left hand here, it would look like 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6. That's the 2 count pattern. Now, for the 3 count pattern, it includes anything that's 3/4 or 9/8. So that's just the normal triple meters. Or if there's a duple meter, basically a duple meter that goes really slow. And so you don't want to count it in 2. You want to count it in 3 instead to speed it up a little bit. That's really the main exception for this one. So let's just figure out the triple pattern here. So you start at the top of your window again, kind of like the height of your head. You go down. You want to end the first count on the downbeat. So that's 1. And then you're going to go over to the side 2 and then 3. Now for 3, you're kind of taking a shortcut back up to 1. You're not going to retrace and go back up for 3 because that's kind of confusing. So you go 1, pick up a little bit and go off to 2, and then straight up to 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Good. Keep doing the 3 pattern. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Good. Looks good. Everyone's getting it. So that's basically your 3 pattern. Now, an example of where this would come in. So typically, so Wonderful Words of Life is normally in 6/8. Now, if you're singing that at a good tempo, basically the quickness it's written at, it's going to be like, sing them over again to me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're going to conduct that in the 2 pattern, okay? So I'm going to use my left hand here so it kind of like mirrors how you guys should look. So it'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Da na 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 da na 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 na. Now this exception here is talking about when you have a 6/8 song that's really slow. Then it might be too slow to be clear with a 2 count pattern. So if you're going to sing like, sing them over again to me, wonderful words of life. That's a little slow. You're kind of like, your hands just kind of sitting there. It's not really moving. So in that instance, you can use the 3 pattern instead. So you could go, sing them over again to me. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, like that. So you're not conducting it like a 6/8. It's a slow 6/8. So then you use the 3 count because you're breaking it in half basically, and you're doing the 3. Because that's a lot better than 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. So basically that's the main exception. If there's a slow 6 count song, or a song with 6 subdivisions, then you can conduct it in a 3 count pattern if that helps it to be more clear. Now the 4 count pattern is used for any song with 4 pulses, such as 4/4 or 12/8. So that's pretty clear. It's just going to be the 4/4 or the 12/8. You could also have, trying to think of other exceptions here. So if this is a 6/4, you're going to probably conduct it with the duple because it's still duple. That's 6/4, so it's 2 groups of 3. So like Trusting Jesus, if you were going to do that at like the regular tempo, it'd be like dun 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you're going to use the 2 count pattern for that. Some places teach you that you should know a 6 count pattern. That's kind of ridiculous because that's more unclear than anything. Like you're supposed to go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, and it's like no one's gonna follow that. So keep with the traditional way of just following, because you're actually feeling the pulses. We don't really need to feel the the subdivisions unless it's really slow, and then just do 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. So really try to stick with these three. It's the simplest way. It's the most clear, I think. And then I put down here, if the lower number in the time signature is 8, usually divide the top number by 3 to find the number of big beats that should be conducted. And this doesn't work if the song is slow, because again, if the song is slow, then you're probably going to want to conduct those subdivisions instead. All right, so I think we're going to practice some of these. Let's practice first with a metronome, which this might not work for all of us. I think there's probably going to be some lag, but we'll go for it and try it. So we've all kind of practiced. Oh, we didn't practice the 4/4 pattern. Let's do that first. So it's going to be, start again up here. You come down, in towards yourself. Okay, so down, in. Okay, you don't want to get mixed up and go down, out, in. That's not a pattern. So you go down, in, out, up. Down, in, out, up. Yeah, I like that. In, out, up, down, in, out, up. Good. So let's start with that one using the metronome. Let's see how this. Let's see. All right. Can you guys hear this?
Yes.
All right. So let's try to follow this. I'll make it just a. Okay. So this is 4/4. And the first one, the weird one, that's your downbeat, okay? So down, in, out, up, down, in, out, up. Good. And as a rule of thumb, the more minimal you are with it, the more clear. So go down. Try not to go up too much on either side. So try to keep it more crisp and clean. Out, up, down. Yeah, cool. Now let's try a little faster. So keep conducting. In, out, up, down, in, out, up. Good. Good. Now keep going, keep going. So now it's a little faster, so you want to be even more simple with your movements. So I'll pause it for a second. Now if this was going to be staccato, you're really minimalistic with it, okay? So if it's just like sharp little words, then you just kind of almost do get jerky with it. Especially if you're going fast. The quicker the song picks up speed, you're just going to be chick, 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 chick. Okay, so still you can have some like flow with it, but the faster it gets, probably the smaller and the more choppy in a way. So let's try 3/4. So this is going to be our 3 pattern. Let's see how this goes. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Good. Cool. All right, now we'll do a 2 pattern. So let's try this one here. So this is going to be 6/8, so we're going to speed this up. Because normally 6/8 songs are going to be faster, because that's the subdivision. So out, up, out, up, out, up, out, up, out, up. Cool, very good. I think we can actually try. Maybe we'll try a verse or so of some songs, and then we're just going to end up by going over some problems to avoid, so that won't take too long. So it's going to be 4-4. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 3. Try both hands. So in, out, up, down. In. Yeah, you don't want to cross your hands. Just keep them side by side. Yep. Okay, back to 1. Down. In, out. Good, yeah, there you go. 2, 3, 4. Good. Now we're going to try one that's a little bit faster. I think we can do this. Another good hymn here. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2.
What's the song?
Yeah, I think so. Good. But yeah, that's good. It's challenging. Really, the best way is to listen to a lot of good music and just kind of conduct it, practice your pattern. Let's do some for 3-4.
What song was that, Max?
It's called Lo He Comes.
Okay.
Did you say that's a psalm?
No, I'm sorry. I was just asking what song it was.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said that's a psalm, and I was like, oh, maybe it is. Yeah, that's an old hymn. That's a good one. It's a little quicker. Yeah, Lo He Comes.
With crowns or arrayed in vengeance?
I don't know. Let's do dun dun dun. Let's do Rock of Ages. And this is going to be your 3 pattern, okay? This is a little bit harder to keep track of for the 3 pattern because Rock of Ages is a little bit tricky, but we'll try it. So. Out, up, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Yep, you gotta remember the second beat on this one goes out instead of in, like the 4 beat pattern. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Good. Now we're gonna do a little bit quicker one here. This is another hymn. Praise to the Lord. 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. So a little smaller. Make it easier on yourself. Good. Yeah, this is the best way to practice, really. Just trying to listen to it and anticipate the beats. It's a little quicker, yeah. Good. All right, we'll pause that one there. Okay, so this is up, out, up, out. You feel how there's 6 beats in there, but you're only going to direct the 2. 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. And then it switches there. So what you could do actually is put a 3 in there. So rest me, or actually for rest, you want that to be straight down. Rest beyond the river. 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so when he says rest, let's try to put the 3 count pattern in there. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So rest, go straight down, and then do the 3 pattern. We'll try that here. Out, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There you go. Make that 1 count lower than the home bass one. So make it low, up, low, up. Good. Like a check mark. Out, up, out, up, and we could have done a 3 count one in there too. Cool. So there's just a little bit of practice. Now let's just mention a couple problems to avoid here, and then we'll wrap up with some homework. Problems to avoid. First off, uneducated conducting. Okay. This is basically, okay, some music directors have no clue about conducting at all, and that's totally fine. Like, they're just trying to get up and lead the congregation. They have no training in conducting. That's not really what I'm talking about here with the uneducated conducting. What I see a lot of is people that they do know how to conduct a little bit, but what happens to all of us is we get off pattern sometime. Okay, so we'll go from doing the right pattern, and then all of a sudden, man, we miss it. That was supposed to be a 3 count one, and then we just start doing something weird, and it's like, uh-oh, and then people normally resort to like bouncing the basketball, or just doing something where they're just in some kind of weird pattern now, and it's like they never readjusted and got back on the right track. So don't bounce the basketball. Don't do some like saluting thing. Man, there's some weird ones out there. Don't resort to some weird method of conducting or something like that. Don't do that, okay? When you mess up, because we're all going to mess up, wait until the next downbeat and then hit the downbeat, okay? So just wait until the measure ends, okay? Even if you just have to stand there like this for a second, okay? And you're like, okay, we're still singing, okay? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and you get back on it. So just wait for the next downbeat and adjust on that next downbeat, and then get back onto the right pattern. So that's how you get back on track. You just wait. You can even hold your hand up and just wait for it, and then you come back down on the downbeat. Unclear conducting, okay, is usually caused by the conductor adding excessive loops or waving to the pattern, causing confusion about the timing, tempo, and tone of the entire song. So try not to embellish the patterns at first, okay? Especially when you're in a situation where not everyone is musical, okay? So if you're conducting congregationally or a big group or something, you just want to keep it clear. That's really the main thing, okay? So just downbeat, clear, out. There shouldn't be confusion of like 1, 2, 3. They're like, oh wait, what's the 3? Or is one of those going out? It's like just almost the simpler the better. So like 1, straight out, up. Make it very clear. Some people teach your third or your second one should be like 1, 2 should go up, and that one goes up, and then 2, 3, like a loop-de-loop kind of thing. And it's like, that's really unclear, because if people look up and they see your hand up here, they don't know what count that is. If your hand is here, that's 1, that's 2, that's 3, 1, 2. It keeps it simple. So don't do excessive like embellishing of conducting and stuff like that, because then people are going to be really confused. Now that's normally with people that are not musical. Okay, if you're in a really musical group or like conducting a choir, you can actually kind of adjust a little bit, and you can develop other symbols that mean something else, that mean like, okay, when I do this, I want you to be more tall on your vowels, instead of saying E, I want you to sing E, something like that. You can get more creative with musical groups, but when it's just a congregation, you want to be very clear. Upbeat conducting is caused by doing the pattern so quickly that beat 1 happens as the hand bounces up from the ictus rather than at the bottom where the downbeat should be, okay? So get the downbeat right. That should be the most pronounced part of the whole gesture. The whole conducting pattern should be 1. Now, some people, they get so excited that they're more like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. And what's happening is that they're going down and they're going 1. And they're just going too fast. So they go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And that's upbeat conducting is what that is. So you don't want a 1, 2. I mean, you're doing kind of the right motion, but you're just 1, 2, 3. You're ahead of the song. So make sure it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Make the downbeat actually down. make it the low part hitting that ictus. 1, 2, 3. It's okay if it bounces up a little bit. 1, 1. But you want it to be down at the bottom of your conducting window. So as a rule, always keep the downbeat at the bottom of the ictus, and the other beats can be on the upswing. Okay, the other beats are normally heading up. So 1 should be down. 2 is kind of a hook, kind of going up. 2, 3 obviously is going up. So there's only one beat that's really the downbeat. So make sure that gets down. The other ones can be heading up. Just don't get too far ahead of them, like 1, 2, 3. Just make sure it's all in time. Using both hands can actually be a big problem, since the left hand is supposed to be reserved for other commands, which we're going to discuss in the next class. Using both hands, once both hands are comfortable with all 3 patterns, the left hand should become independent of the pattern while the right hand maintains the pattern. Okay, so you really want to save your left hand to do other things while you're conducting with your right hand. Okay, so if you're doing the 4/4 pattern, your left hand is reserved for cuts and cues, or like more dynamic motions and stuff like that. So try not to use your left hand, actually, because that people become so locked into this pattern and they can't function. They can't make their left hand stop. Like, it just keeps going. So that's actually not very helpful. So try not to use both hands, because then your left hand has a really difficult time becoming independent. It should be able to do the pattern, but you don't want it to get stuck there. So be careful with that. Reserve the left hand for other things. Actually, yeah, hand independence is one of the greatest challenges to the beginning conductor. That's a true statement. Unusual conducting quirks, such as turning sideways, okay, should never be done, okay? If you are conducting a congregation who's this way, I better never see you conduct and you just swing over here and you're conducting the wall now, okay? And normally the people that do this also do upswing conducting, okay? But like, now you're over here, the people over there can't see what in the world you're doing. They don't know what this is, okay? So don't do weird. Don't be weird, okay? People get really weird with conducting, and it's not about you, really. It's not, it's supposed to be a show. So just don't embrace unusual conducting quirks. All of us will be tempted to develop our own, And by the way, whenever we conduct and stuff, I'm not really looking for mistakes, because we all make mistakes. I'm just looking for bad techniques or habits. Okay, every time you do this, you're doing this wrong. Because we all mess up, and we all, make mistakes. So I'm not even looking for mistakes. But we don't want to develop weird quirks. We don't want to develop bad technique. And if you want to read a lot more about the role of the conductor in a very in-depth form, there's this article here. Actually, it's very good, but it's very in depth. It's very technical, so it's there if you want to read that or not. Down to the exercises, pretty simple. There's just a couple questions to answer. Then listen to these hymns and identify the time signatures without using a hymnal. Okay. Now, actually, these hymns that are on the notes here, the link, actually the song numbers are the song numbers for the Baptist edition of the Trinity hymnal. So you can look them up afterwards using those hymn numbers, like 205, 136. They'll be in here, and that is the page number for that hymnal. But try to listen to it and write down what you think the time signature is, based on how you would conduct it, based on what you think the pulses are, without even looking at music, just by listening to it. Write those down. Then exercise 3 here, practice leading 3 hymns. I'm going to let you pick some of these, but they have to have different time signatures, okay? Now, I'm going to give you the third one, okay? So I decided this one for you. So the third one, write down in the Trinity hymnal, it's number 731. The title is And Can It Be? And the time signature slot over there, it's 4/4, okay? So 731, And Can It Be is in 4/4 time. So you obviously have to pick one that's going to be 3, and you have to pick one that's going to be a duple. Okay, you can pick whichever ones of those you want to, but I gave you the 4/4 one. I want you to practice those 3, and then I want you to video yourself conducting it. Okay, either with you singing, with your family singing, with some good, please pick a good, if you're going to do that, recording of it. But somehow have some music to it, or someone just playing the piano or something, or singing, and you conduct it and then video it and then send it to me sometime before the next class, and then I want to just watch it, and then that way we can go over some of those things, but it won't take up time in the class for us all to go around. Yeah, for all 3. So practice those patterns. You'll have to practice the 2 pattern, the 3 pattern, and the 4 pattern. And nothing fancy, just the hymn. It can be 1 verse, 1 chorus, and you conducting it with the right pattern. You can try however many times you want to. You can make it as perfect as you want to, because again, I'm not looking for mistakes. I'm just looking for bad technique. So yeah, do those 3 hymns, work on those, and then the comment section, that's just for next time. If whenever I get back to you on when I watch the video, if there's any tips or anything, I'll just send that to you, and you can just write those down there so that you have a record of it. So that's going to be the exercises. So enjoy picking hymns and recruiting a choir to sing them with you, for you, or you can just sing it yourself. Sometimes it's harder to concentrate on seeing the words and conducting the pattern, so it might be easier to find someone to sing it for you while you go through that.